family in Uganda has a totally different structure from the existence of the real Baganda under the clans. The Baganda are identified with the totem, Omuziro. And with that, Omutaka is the custodian of all the spirits that can hold that, all those who came before. And when you talk about the Omutaka, in short, you are talking about the king of all those who come from that very lineage. And they are joined by a totem. A totem can be a tree. Remember what I talked about nature? It can be a plant, it can be a bird. It can be any kind of animal, it can be fish, it can be an insect. But that insect makes people related. It doesn't need you to bring machines and test DNA. As long as somebody says, you start identifying them as sisters and brothers. It is as simple as that. So, it is very important for us to know, as we look up to the presentation, maybe just flip and I come to the conclusion. Although the story is very interesting. Now, this is the Kabaka of Uganda. His Royal Majesty Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II, son of Kabaka Mutesa II, the first president of the Republic of Uganda, grandson of Kabaka Dawichwa, great-grandson of Kabaka Mwanga, the second great-great-grandson of Kabaka Mutesa I, who welcomed the first white man in the land. And he goes back in lineage up to the person I've been talking about, Shinto, who was made a king by the clans. Ladies and gentlemen, as you feel, this monument reminds us of where we come from. This monument was built in 1886. To be specific, it was 1884. But again, it is something that can make us at least trace a pattern of how we came to reach this kind of architecture. I want to believe that when you go to Rwanda, you can find similar structures. I'm so sure when you go to Burundi, you can find similar structures. But I want us to relate on something very important, that when you go to Egypt, you'll find a pyramid. Mm-hmm. This is our pyramid. Now we need to see a connection. How did we reach at the magnitude of having the architecture of building a house that could stand all those years at the moment? And I all remember, it was just a few years, maybe 10 or 15, when this house was burned down. Almost 300 or 200 years it has been standing. How many of the buildings that use a lot of architecture, use a lot of technology, have stood the test of time? Can you feel? Now, when we talk about reality at the moment, the reigning king and those who become kings originate from that place that I've just showed you. We do have 1,000 palaces. To be specific, we have over 30 palace tombs where it used to be palace, but later on when the king died or disappeared, or kings don't die, we are communing with them here in Uganda. They are there. When the king disappears, the palace becomes a tomb. They bury him there, or they keep him there, and a princess is picked, selected, chosen to be the head, a spiritual head, and an embodiment of the former king. Now that is how powerful ladies or princes are, and I want to believe we have shared this very important aspect of how women are very much integrated in the leadership when it comes to Uganda. This is the current This is the current palace in Mengo. We will go there, and I want to believe you'll see much more. Now, this one also shows us a lot that we lost. But the good part of Uganda is that we managed to keep part of what we want to remember alive, and also see the patterns of how things grow. So this is Mengo Palace, and then we have a parliament. You can flip. This is where the clan heads, specifically let me say the county heads, are banned, headed by the particular of Uganda, sit to deliberate on how the kingdom can be run. The most important thing is we have three major structures in the kingdom. The first one, of course, is the royal family, headed by the Kabaka, royalty. The second one is this, which is headed by a particular of Uganda, and they sit in this building. And the last one is where Omutaka sits, Bataka, which is also headed by a convener. Let's go on. I've already talked about the statistics. We have traditionally probably started over so many thousand years in the 15th century. We are existing here. You can put it through. We have 252 clans. And okay, now let me briefly tell us how we are going forward, and probably starting to look at how this discussion, more the discussion, and what is expected in this room. Ladies and gentlemen, Buganda is at the crossroads of deciding how we are proceeding. And that is why when I told some of these members to come, I told them that this is the decisive moment. How are we progressing? Are we going forward, leaving back all that makes us, or we need to look at what other kingdoms are doing, see and find how we can collaborate, seek some kind of patterns that can make us move forward. We have these three structures, but at one point they clash. The royals sometimes believe or believe that maybe the power that one of the arm, which is the administrative arm, has, probably has subdued them. Now, how is it done with the rest of the other kingdoms? This is why we're here, to learn from other structures. How are they handled? The clan head will also say that maybe since the beginning of this kingdom, it's all about us, then we need more power. We need to be given a platform to explain how we go forward. And the royals are thinking also that yes, this is our time to shine. I think all of the rest should listen to us. So we are here today to have a discussion. How can we move forward as Uganda Kingdom? Can you flip on the window? Now let me talk about Omland Israel House as a simple example. I've worked in almost all these. Let me flip back. Just one. Okay, fine. I've been part of the Bataka for a good time. We've done a lot of research. I've been part of the county aids for a particular time, and I'm a speaker within the royal family, royal council. But the most important aspect that we're here to do is to look at some sample. I came up and decided that at one point, yes, we do have the royalty, but from what we are seeing, and I want to align with what IDO is doing, IDO went and registered, became a legal entity that it can work with all of us without fear. It is true that IDO may even be working with institutions that are not legally or approved or recognized. So I realized that when you talk about Buganda Kingdom, we do have, we are known very well. But the legal aspect sometimes, because we're asking, how do we work with Uganda? According to the Constitution, we do have the Kabaka as the sole entity of Uganda, in Uganda. So his soul, I don't know which legal term they say, but when you talk about Uganda, you first of all know Uganda is owned by the king. When the king is removed, then the Bataka will start defining what we are. The most important thing right now is that we can have the royalty, but you can also have something that can be registered and recognized, preempt us from, to work with other institutions and maybe kingdoms here. So this is what I did with the Mlambizi Royal House. I went ahead and realized that if we are to make substantial development within the royal family, we must register some specific entities. So Mlambizi Royal House is one, it's the first registered royal house under Uganda, with patents which are trademarked, the logos and everything, and we can transact, we can present ourselves. And this is what has happened. Because of this small registration, we have spearheaded the development and research on African spirituality. Specifically, we started with Uganda, and the government, as we know government, they want to work with registered entities. So when they saw that the person who is coming up, the person who is well, the papers are very clear, the government has welcomed us, and as I speak right now, Uganda traditional spirituality was confirmed by the government of Uganda, and the research is continuing. I also want to inform you that as you sit right here, and from the moment you ushered me to the African Union, I also presented the Ubuntu African spirituality. We got a letter from the African Union Economic and Cultural and Civil Society sector. They gave us a letter. We sent it to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And Ubuntu African Traditional Spirituality is also registered in Uganda. It is also registered with the African Union as of yesterday. Now, please keep living. The most important thing right now is to accept that we need to take some serious steps, tangible steps that could impact on how development comes our way. It is true we can lament, we can talk about what we think we are, but the reality of the fact is that we need to come up and find how to solve some of these problems. Because the fact remains that we have financial challenges. This cuts across, it's not just a family issue. It is everyone's issue when it comes to finances. They're never enough. How do we utilize our positions to find a path that can take us forward? This is a discussion we're having today. We are having a problem with youth who are more inclined to following the modern patterns of life, whatever they see on TV. How do we pull them back into accepting who we are and loving their cultural institutions and work? I think this is the disconnect. Then we have land, and the most important part is that kind of cultural preservation. Now, all these are challenges in our midst, and I want to believe the reason we are here today is to find a path on how we can be able to put all these into context and look at better kingdom being formed along the way. Now we are proposing, first is what I've talked about here, that we need to create patterns that are legal. Maybe like the Mlambizi Royal House, maybe a royal foundation, maybe something but which is legal, and we can probably own land, because right now everything has been taken away from our hands. Secondly, I will just talk about the last part of it, because the rest of it can be done. When we talk about modernizing our structures, right now, as we see this pattern, the royals on their side, the Abami, the county heads are also there on their side, and then we have the Abataka, the clan heads are also on their own. We need to find a pattern. How do these work within these current systems and build synergies that can help us to grow? But the most important part here also to end with is the strength that we can come or we can gain from the diplomacy and partnerships that come with such cities. I want to believe that today all the real members of Uganda who are here are going to make new friends at the beginning, but also create a new path that can make us benefit from the rich and developments that are happening in other kingdoms. So, my talk today, or as I'm welcoming you today, is to remind us that irrespective of whether Uganda is considered, and it is really one of the biggest and ancient kingdoms in Uganda, but we still have a lot, Your Highness, to do, and I want to believe there is no better place to do that than here. I want to end by thanking you all for honoring our invitation, and I welcome you to Uganda at this conference. Thank you. At this particular moment, we have the performance.
We'll take a break.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we are having a discussion. Some of these ideas you've seen are some of the ideas that are going to be placed into your midst to initiate a discussion. What is it that you think in your kingdom can benefit another kingdom? What is it that you feel is a weakness, but you think another kingdom can help you? Or you think the organization of IDO can step in? This is why we're here. But before we can go to the discussion, ladies and gentlemen, allow me usher in onto this platform a wise man in the distance, a person who is very hard to introduce, one with experience that we have come to tap into, a king of nations, an imperial leader. I've been following most of your talks and didn't tell you about this, and I've learned a lot. A person who will speak and recognize that there is much you don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together to welcome the Imperial Majesty, King.
Secondly, when he's about to come, I would like to praise him according to our culture in the Igbo kingdom. Ngishowenake bungana ntabaqala ubungana omkhulu undlubeza mina emthonjeni kaSotholoze uthiwe izithonzo zabalanda nabalandakazi azabalanda bayokuzala ngani ngokubhoqu onsineka ulilela nkosana ubungani uyababaza ngishowenake bungana undlubeza mina emthonjeni lapho lakithi kaSotholoze ubungana omkhulu bathi abantu umkhulu ubungana angakazi uNkulunkulu umkhulu uNkulunkulu angakazi ubungana usikwenza izitho zabalandakazi bakuhleka bathi usikwenza izitho zabalandakazi ubungana ubungana uzozala ngani ubhoqo uyalusinela isigujana siyale kumina ubungane ukubizwe ngale nkobani zonke izizwe zabekelana ukuthiwa khona ubungane kanti khona lo bodla ngale nkobani kanti bodla ubungane umvuni wabantu onjengelento ngamabele ngikhuluma nawe ke bungane udlubeza mina emthonjeni kaSotholoze bayethe bese bayo
can be seated. Thank you very much. Thank you. My brother from Uganda, you have put me on the spot. Uganda, we say Uganda. I will quickly touch off our origin. In our kingdom, we don't choose the king. The king is chosen in heaven. That's a technical part. We believe that our first king came out of the waters, the river Nile. When he came out, he was wearing a leopard skin, accompanied by his woman. Next to the reeds, this is the story you read in the Old Testament, where they are talking about Moses. Indeed, our story is not about Moses, but it's about a king who appeared next to the reeds. We call him Inkosi Yomhlanga, meaning the king of the reeds. Embryo. If you understand what is embryo for the woman, that's where we originate from. We are people that are referred as people who do not dwell into sin. We call ourselves Angoni. In simple English, people who do not dwell into sin, who do not commit any crime, who are very clean spiritually. We believe that the main king from our kingdom is the Creator. And we are just his eyes and ears and the mouth. We are just representing Miriam there. Because he asked us to be the custodian of tradition, of our customs, and our heritage on earth. Whatever is beneath the soil, we are the guardians on his behalf. He gave us a law how to choose a king here on earth. As I said, he is the one who chooses. There is a ritual that we undertake. We put water into a calabash, not me, but elderly people, and they put a traditional medicine there, and they speak to that calabash and that medicine to say, he says he is the king. Do you agree as the heavens that he is the one who's in charge? And then in that heart, that home, traditional heart, what they were showing you, 3 people have been given authority to be checking that heart if nobody is going to interfere in that heart. From 7 p.m. until 3 a.m. When the other one wants to go to the toilet, the 2 must follow him wherever they go until they open that door at 3 a.m. The signal that shows that you are the king, it is the foam that will come out of that calabash. But that's not enough. Yes, if the foam has come out, the second phase is that they will speak to the calabash and say, yes, you have agreed for the first time, but now they are going to be facing you. Say, as you are going to drink this medicine, if you are not the king, you are going to die. Are you prepared to drink this medicine? If you are not prepared to tell them, no, I think it's enough, and maybe we can try something. But I did drink it. They give you 45 minutes to live on earth, and they ask you more than 4 or 5 times, are you sure you want to drink this medicine? Because after drinking this medicine, you won't. Why? Because when I was born, at the age of 2 months, I was hidden at my grandmother's place. I was told, my mother, if you can read my book, it's called Comrade King. It's on Amazon. I was told my mother was given a prophecy to say he's going to give birth to a king, and he's the only son that is going to be given birth, and this boy is going to suffer on earth. He's going to live a terrible life. He's going to go to prison for politics. He's going to undergo military services to understand the type of people that he's going to be leading. And indeed, I did follow that life. I'll talk about it later, how I ended up. I was in prison with Nelson Mandela at the age of 15 years. But I'll talk about it later. So, I was then given the medicine to drink. After 45 minutes, they don't talk to you in that 45 minutes. They just talk about themselves. And after 45 minutes, you are then asked to go to the crawl if you are still alive. They give you a 20-liter cold water to go and vomit that medicine. And then after, they go and get the goat, because they need the gall, to pour you with the gall, and to do certain rituals to present you to our people. That is the African ceremony. And then they will host a lot of people, more than what we are here, to present you to our people. Now, what is critical about our tradition is that we regard ourselves coming from Central Africa, from the Congo region, from the mountains of the moon. That's how we are told. We are people that descended to South Africa because we were looking for greener pastures. When a child has reached a probation from our kingdom, he must be given a space, a land, to become a chief. But we don't forget where we come from. As I said, we don't dwell into sin. We do not subscribe to killing people. We don't kill the best warriors that you can think of. We call them the Yendani. And these warriors, if you push them to the corner, indeed they will kill you. I'm saying this because the colonialists, when they first attacked us, we told them, this is the history we taught. We told them we don't want to fight them. We don't went into fights. They pushed us. They had guns, we had spears. So we don't carry long spears. We carry short spears. Maybe you can see we carry very short spears. We believe in direct contact instead of throwing. We don't throw because we believe that if you throw a stick, a spear, you are a coward. We believe that you must fight direct. And our fight, when we fight, does not finish until somebody must die. We don't fight. But if you push us to the corner, one must die. And if I did not find you, I must wait for you outside. I must find a space somewhere that I must kill you. Because we have pushed you to another corner, but we don't fight. I don't know if we understand each other. We don't fight, but when we push you to a fight, so we told the colonialists we don't fight. They pushed us, we killed them with guns, and then we left one guy. I'm sorry, my mothers. We had to cut one of the head of the military, the balls, to give this guy to go and give their bosses to say, don't come to us to kill you. So I think in the history we are being hated. They don't want us to tell you that these Shubi people, these King Kumani's people, we don't want to see the colonialists. Now, I want to share this, my friends. When colonialists arrived, they created their own kingdoms. It's very important. We must differentiate. Because a lot of people today cannot differentiate that. People see kingdoms that are being funded by the colonialists, and they think these are the most powerful kingdoms. No, they are not. In the southern part of where I come from, the British, what they did, I was just relating the story the There was a guy who was responsible for cattle. His name is Malandela, meaning the follower. This guy, he knew all the corners because he was taking care of all the cattle of the people. So the British took him and elevated him to be made the king of the Zulus. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Because he knew all the corners. Because the British needed to write a map to understand who is in charge, where is who is powerful, how can we find them. So this guy gave them all the secrets. He was then elevated after all these other kingdoms were defeated. Now in South Africa, the kingdom that is meant Zulu kingdom, it was created by the British. Everybody that you see there under the Zulus were forced into the Zulu kingdom. We've got different kingdoms. We've got the Senegazi kingdom, we've got the Maturu kingdom, we've got the Tubi kingdom, we've got the Tosa, we've got all these were independent kingdoms. I want to clarify this. Shaka was raised by my forefathers. We taught him the art of war. Why he was brought by a man by the name of Tingiswai. If you can watch the movie called I think it's on TV. So that man brought Shaka to us to say, please raise this man the way you have raised me, because we taught him the art of fight. So Shaka, we chased him. Before we chased him, you'll see Shaka how he dresses. He dresses like a skirt. He does not dress like what the Zulus are dressed, because he came as a small boy. We raised him, we taught him the art. We chased him out of our family because he wanted to raise a daughter of our family. But that did not make him an enemy of our family. He would always, whenever he fights his wars, he would always come and ask us to borrow him our warriors. So he became victorious because of our warriors. Is the end time. When he went and fought Sweden, he came and asked for our warriors. Two, he asked for our medicine. We are very good with traditional medicine. Very good. We can disappear. If you want to kill me now, you just look for. This is true. This is true. This is true. We are seers, and a king cannot become a king if he's not a seer. In spirituality, and we are a spiritual kingdom, not led by